Mike never wore them on court with the Bulls, but Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck made sure we remembered the Air Jordan 9. Returning for the first time in 6 years, this sneaker adopts the classic Chicago home colorway it debuted with in 1993. Let's take a look.
Hey all, what is up? Reese here, and I've got a brand new sneaker pickup to show you. What we're looking at today is the Air Jordan 9 Retro in white, true red, and black. These released on Saturday, December 3rd, 2016, with a retail price of $190. Jordan Brand has really been pushing the Space Jam theme in 2016, especially as we've closed out the year. Obviously, we've seen the Space Jam 11s and a handful of other different Jordan shoes with colorways inspired by that shoe. And they also brought this shoe back, obviously. Now, with all of that happening, we've seen these shoes kind of getting the nickname this year of the Space Jam 9s, which is weird for a lot of people because, you know, we've seen these retro multiple times since the movie came out, but this is the first time we're really hearing them called the Space Jams. I think a lot of that just has to do with the marketing push that Nike has been making towards this theme, but it's just interesting to think about the fact that, you know, like this colorway came out 3 years before the movie ever released, and no one ever called these Space Jams before, so just to hear that now is kind of throwing some people off. But regardless of what you call it, you cannot deny the impact these had in the movie. I remember for me personally, this is kind of the shoe that I will always think of first when I think of Space Jam, because I watched the movie before I really cared about shoes, and so I didn't honestly notice what Michael was wearing in the final game versus the Monstars. I did, however, notice this shoe in that scene where Bugs and Daffy go to Michael's house to get his sneakers and his shorts. So it is still a significant shoe, I think, for a lot of people who especially grew up at a younger age watching the movie Space Jam. As a silhouette overall, the Air Jordan 9 is unique in the Air Jordan lineup because it's the very first of the signature shoes that Michael did not wear on court with the Bulls. He had actually retired in October of 1993, and this shoe came out for the 93-94 NBA season. I think this particular colorway actually released in November of 93. So they'd already designed it, like all of the actual prototyping and creating the shoe had happened while they were still under the assumption that he would be playing it, just they actually ended up releasing them after he had retired. Now that doesn't mean Michael Jordan never actually wore this shoe. He did obviously wear them in Space Jam, but he also wore a cleated version when he was in retirement and playing baseball. One thing that's also interesting about the story of the 9s is that even though he never wore them on court, there's actually a statue of Michael Jordan outside of the United Center, which is where the Bulls play basketball. And he's in like his full basketball gear, he's going up for kind of his classic dunk, and he's wearing the 9s. Tinker Hatfield, the designer of this shoe and plenty of other of the Air Jordan signature sneakers, was asked for input on what pair of shoes he should be wearing in the sculpture. Tinker's first question was, well, what is the pose? And when the sculptor sent him the sculptor sent him a picture, an image or a drawing or something, and he could see that one of the feet was kind of fairly vertical so you could see the bottom, he wanted to pick the 9 because it's got a pretty interesting storytelling traction pattern, which we'll cover more in that close-up view. I think that covers pretty much the history and kind of the overview of the shoe, everything I wanted to touch on. So with all that said, let's dive into that close-up view now, and we'll take a look at the colors, materials, and everything going on with this sneaker. Now, as we take a look at this sneaker, one of the things we'll keep in mind is one of the main themes that Tinker was trying to convey, which was the globalization of basketball. And that was basically the concept that through the late 80s and early 90s, basketball was really spreading throughout the world. It was getting a lot of people interested, and that was due in large part to athletes like Michael Jordan, who were both doing great things, you know, in the NBA, but also making an impact in the Olympics, having things like the sneaker lines and just other ways to reach fans. So he actually worked with a graphic artist named Mark Smith to add a couple of the touches that we'll see throughout the shoe. Taking a look at the upper, you've got your white leather, and to add a little bit of texture and interest, you've got these sections which are basically outlined with white stitching and then feature these triangle indentations that have just a little perforation right at the tip. Now it's important to note those perforations don't actually go all the way through. This isn't for breathability, it's just for some like interesting visual changes throughout the shoe. You do have a smooth leather toe box. You've got a white mesh tongue, so you do have some breathability all through there. black rope laces, and then you've got these black eyelets, and now this features what's called one pole lacing. So instead of having to tighten the laces here and then work your way up, you can actually just pull from the top and it'll get those tightened all the way down. You've got a neoprene material up at the top of the tongue with this Air Jordan tag. That's a black tag with red lettering. Looking at the inside of the shoe now, you've actually got a booty in there, just like what we saw in the Air Jordan 7 and the Air Jordan 8. The sock liner and insole are done in black, and then you can see kind of peeking through there, you've got Nike Air branding in white. It's nice to see the Nike Air branding coming back on these original colorways that we're seeing release. Looking now at the other main part of the upper, you've got this black nubuck material that forms the mud guard and then the heel. You can see there's kind of a sparkle quality to it, similar to something like what we saw with the Air Jordan 8 Aquas. There was that sparkle on the midsole. It's very much a hit or miss for people, but that is true to the original. So again, that wraps all the way along the length of the shoe, and then you can really see that coming up throughout the heel. 23 stitched on in red, and then this is the first hit of that global theme. You've got the Jumpman on top of like a simplified globe, black pull tab right there. Taking a look at the midsole, you've got a black polyurethane midsole. There is an air sole unit in the forefoot and the heel, and then you've got these fingers kind of coming up onto the upper a little bit, and basically that provides the lateral support you need so your foot's not sliding left and right over the footbed. And the fingers were something Tinker was trying out, and basically he wanted to provide the same lateral support that you would want, but then cut out some of that material in those dead spaces where it wasn't really necessary, because you did have these other places where it was coming up, and so as a way to cut materials and also cut weight for the shoe. The outsole does wrap up a little bit here at the heel. You can see the red Jumpman. Now this is one area where the shoe is not true to original form, kind of similar to what we've seen on a lot of the Air Jordan 11 retros. On the originals, the Jumpman was facing forward, so the ball was facing forward on both shoes. As you can see, that is correct here on the right shoe. But if we take a look at the left shoe, you'll see that the ball is actually facing towards the heel. So that is one thing that they kind of missed, bringing these back true to original form. Flipping to the outsole now, you've got a fairly interesting traction pattern, but supposedly it works pretty well. I've not tried it for actually playing basketball, and I don't think I'll ever play basketball on these, but I have heard at least decent things about it, which looking at something like this can be surprising. I think that's just a testament to the type of rubber they use more so than the actual pattern itself. You've got a big red Jumpman back there. You can see 23 behind it. Then up here you've got some characters. You've got a 1994 under the ball of the foot. At the outside you've got that globe icon coming back, and then right here, kind of the inside under the toes, you've got 5 words written in different languages, and those are different words that describe Michael Jordan, the way he plays, and kind of his lifestyle. And you actually have 5 different words on the other shoes, so you actually have 10 different words, again in different languages, kind of conveying that global theme, along with some of the other stuff going here. This is something that graphic artist Mark Smith helped kind of design and come out with some of those globalization themes on the sneaker. With all that said, that wraps up the review of the Air Jordan 9, the Chicagos or the Homes or the Space Jams or whatever you want to call them. I didn't show you the box because it's just the normal black and gold Jordan box, nothing special there at all. Let me know in the comments what you think of the 9s. I definitely am not a huge fan of the silhouette, but I love this colorway. This was an absolute must for me. I was really happy that they released it. I'm happy with the quality. Again, the only thing that I could really nitpick is the direction of that Jumpman on the left shoe. But let me know what you think below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the reviews I'm putting out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.